It's now early September 2025, and I woke up this morning to see that Amazon had finally updated their terms and services to say that select books could now go into public libraries. Now, some of us had email confirmation about this a week or two ago, but everyone was a little bit cautious because it wasn't in the terms and service. I assume their lawyers were taking a while to do it, but now it is. So you're probably saying, what does this have to do with selling direct, and what does this have to do with anything? Well, actually quite a lot, because we have to consider, what is Amazon's purpose? Now, we have to think critically and have common sense. I have a whole video on common sense. You need common sense in business. Why has Amazon allowed select books into libraries? They haven't done it for funsies. They haven't done it for altruistic reasons, because they're a business. Why have they done it? Now, the obvious answer is antitrust, because, well, first of all, I think they have I'll tell you what I think, and then I'll tell you why I think this. Now, it could be completely wrong, but this is just my opinion. But I think that in July next year, Amazon will fold Select into Prime, and it will be a Prime benefit. Those of us who've been in this business long enough will remember the Kindle Owners Lending Library, where books were just a Prime benefit and Prime members didn't have to pay any more. I think it's going to get folded back into that, and as a result, I kind of suspect that Amazon will have the current per page rollouts, like per page earnings. So it's currently, I don't know how many zeros, I'm mathematically challenged, 0.00, how many zeros, 4-ish. I think it will go back to how many of the zeros, 2-ish. This is my prediction. And as usual, I think it will happen in July, and I think it will happen in July next year. And so why has Amazon allowed select books into libraries? As an antitrust buffer, because if they fold it into Prime, it could raise regulatory issues, possibly, and it gives them a good antitrust shield. And then they can say, oh, yes, we had to cut author earnings because, we're kindly allowing books to be distributed to libraries, or sort of whatever, that type of thing. That's how I predict it will be worded. Now, when books first came out, like Amazon clearly was at first a bookstore, but then books became a lost leader. I always bang on about the 30-cent McDonald's ice cream cone. Would you like fries with that? In the olden days, around 2010, 2011 even, books were the 30-cent ice cream cone. Amazon used to get people into their store, but they don't need that anymore. So where is Amazon making money from books now? Well, the evidence suggests it isn't. It's losing money on books, clearly, and Amazon ads are really the only peripheral way Amazon is making money from books, by authors advertising. And as we all know, if someone runs an Amazon ad, about 40 other books will appear on the page. What can you do? But anyway, that's beside the point. So if KDP Select pays half of in a year it pays half of what it's paying now, clearly that's going to affect author incomes. And that's a good reason why it's a good idea to have an author store, even if you only have it as your website. I mean, a proper e-commerce store like Shopify. You can set it up so it looks just like a website, even if you don't want to sell anything on at this point. But if you are up to your ears in Select, it's a good idea to sell paperbacks on your store. I have lots of students who are in KDP Select, and they do very, very well selling paperbacks from their store. And it's a good future buffer if something were to happen. I could be completely wrong about Select, but historically, look what's happened. Now, let's look at it historically. It used to be Kindle Owners Lenders Library, which is a mouthful, isn't it? And I think I was in it. I think we used to get about $2 a book or something like that. And as for the reader, if they were in Prime, they got this for nothing. It was just it was a Prime perk, basically. And that started in November, December 2011. And then in 2014, in July, of course, it's usually July, that's when Kindle Unlimited in that form then was introduced, and it still paid per book. It didn't pay per pages read. But then all the scammers came in with the really short books, and they were getting the full amount. And then in July the next year, 2015, that is when the current pages read connects was introduced. So that way the scammers couldn't benefit from their terribly short books. But let's backtrack to the year before, in 2014, when it was introduced in that iteration, it became available to everybody, not just people with a Prime membership. But I do believe it is going to roll back as a Prime perk, because Amazon does appear to be losing money hand over fist from books, as evidenced by all their shutdowns in their book divisions. They've shut down physical stores. Everyone knows they shut down Book Depository, which was like a mega shock. They also shut down Westland Books, which they bought in 2011. I think they shut down around a couple of years ago, 2023. And that was a big move. And they've shut down all their physical bookstores. They have done heaps of layoffs in the book division. And the CEO a couple of years ago said they were focusing on this, that, and the other, and books were not mentioned at all. So it's quite clear when you look at the shutdowns of books, the shutdowns of people working in, say, Kindle, people working in Goodreads, and people working in other book divisions were laid off, lots of them. It was early 2023. Amazon confirmed there are about 18,000 layoffs, and a lot of those were in the book division. So it's all publicly available information. If you're really keen, you can go and look it up. But Amazon has shut down their physical bookstores. Everyone knows APUB, Amazon Publishing, isn't doing well anymore. The evidence suggests it's not doing well. Then there were the author bonuses. I think they did away with those about 3 years ago in 2022. Like, some of us used to get thousands of dollars in author bonuses a month, and then they just completely cut them out, like did away with them. And now there are only book bonuses, which of course pay a lot less. They don't pay anywhere near the old author bonuses. The author bonuses used to pay out well. So they did away with those completely. So if you look at the trend where Amazon has gone with, and speaking of Amazon, that was my dogs going crazy because I just had an Amazon delivery. But anyway, let's look at what Amazon did with their creators in Prime Video. Now, that has been quite considerable. They slashed their rates from 15 cents to 4 cents to 10 cents. So Amazon launched Prime Video Direct in 2016, and it initially paid out 15 cents. But 4 years later, it introduced some sort of interesting scheme, shall we say, a customer engagement scheme, which was more subjective than objective. So you couldn't really, it was a guess basically for anyone to look at. They didn't know what was going on. And that paid out a lot less, surprisingly. So it only paid out 4 cents to 10 cents per streaming hour, according to what Amazon called the customer engagement score, rather than something that was concrete and identifiable, such as a streaming hour itself, which paid 15 cents. Nationally, it only paid 6 cents per streaming hour. So they got a lot less for international streaming. So the indie creators were saying they were getting 60% less. As far as their royalties went, 60% less. And guess what? There used to be like an All-Stars bonus, but they called it Stars, not All-Stars. And guess what? They shut that down as well. So there is clear evidence that Amazon is moving away from books. And books were once the loss leader to get people to the store. They no longer need loss leaders to get people to their stores. And the only way they make money out of authors these days, the evidence suggests, is only from Amazon ads. So then, why this library move? Well, Amazon typically will do something that's a bit interesting 12 months before the penny drops. Now, they've done this now, August, September. July next year is probably when they will make their move. Typically, they do something in July. And it has also been forecast separately. People forecast that the Prime membership for the US will go up by $20 a year next July. So it all kind of fits in my mind anyway. You have to ask yourself, why did Amazon allow select books into libraries? They have a strategic business reason for this. Please tell me you don't think they were being altruistic. They were not. They were not being nice. There is a business reason behind this. It's not all rainbows and unicorns. I love rainbows and unicorns, but I do not believe they live in Amazon. So please have some critical thinking and ask yourself, why has Amazon allowed select books into libraries? Why? What is their reasoning? They have a reason. And I have looked at this, and my suggestion, my suspicion, I don't know, of course, I don't know, but my suspicion is that Select is going to get folded back into Prime as it once was back in the day. Those of us who were back there in the early days remember the Kindle Owners Lending Library, and it will go back to that. But it will still be pages read. Of course, all the short page scammers will come back, but it will pay out a lot less than it's currently paying out, I suspect half, and it will drop even further. So what can you do to shield yourself against something like this? Well, Kindle Unlimited was never going to be, well, KDP Select was never going to be here forever, was it? Those of us who've been around since the beginning know things always change. Like I was there just when Amazon bought BookSurge and made it create space back in the days. And then we've had Cole. Then we've had all different iterations of Kindle Unlimited. There was an outcry in July 2015 when Amazon changed it from a payout per book, I think it was around $2 a book. We used to get $2 a book, to the pages read system. There was an outcry then, but it wasn't the end of the world for Amazon, was it? So there's going to be an outcry if they do something different. I don't know what's going to happen, but to me, this is a logical thing that will happen. It ties in with the predictions that the Prime membership will go up, and also with all the indications that Amazon is losing money hand over fist over books. Look at all the physical bookstores they shut down. I think 68, I could be wrong, but they've shut down all their physical bookstores. They shut down Book Depository, which was a big shock. They shut down Westlands. They've had big shutdowns of book divisions. They're moving away from, they did away with author bonuses. Clearly, their focus is no longer on books. So take that to its logical conclusion. What will the next iteration of Select be? One thing is certain, it's not going to stay as it is forever. And by nature, I'm a super optimist, but even I do not think it's going to get better for authors from here on in, is it? If you look at it, it hasn't. It's progressively got worse, like author bonuses have gone, payouts are less. So let's think, what are we going to do if they do cut it by half? Just think what else you can do. But I do think it's very important to get your books into libraries now. Get your books into libraries, your select books into libraries. At least they're sitting there. And if you do decide to take them wide and say you're in a place like Draft to Digital, it will take you a second per book to distribute them elsewhere. Even if you have 100 books, a couple of hours or even 1 hour, you'd be done. So that is shock-proofing yourself from Amazon, getting more readers in the library. So it's super important to get your books in libraries. You might think it's going to take you time to upload them, but it will, especially if you have a lot of books. But you've got to think short-term pain, long-term gain. The evidence is there. Select is not going to improve. The fact that they have now allowed books to go into libraries, I find highly suspicious. They have a reason for this. The most obvious reason is as an antitrust shield. Why would they need an antitrust shield now? Because in my view, they're going to fold it back into as a Prime benefit like it once was. But they're going to say, oh, look, we'll let you put books in libraries. You've got extra income. We're going to cut the fund. We're going to cut your payout. And I would suspect it will be half at the very most, like point however many zeros to. I would say at the very most, probably a lot less. And that's why it's important to have a direct store. Oh, by the way, I have a $27 course. I'll link it below. It's only $27. And it's good if you've never even started a store or if you already have a store, because people always say to me, I don't need help. I have a store up and running, and I look at it and it's a complete dog's breakfast. Having a store up and running is not enough. It's not like uploading your books to the retailers. You have to have a store that will convert. You have to have lots of things that you wouldn't know about because you don't know what you don't know. Anyway, it's only $27 and I've linked it below. Okay, this is what I think. As I said, this is what I think will happen. They will increase the Prime membership cost by $20 next July. At the same time, they will announce that Select is being folded into Prime as a benefit and not sold separately like it currently is. It will go back to the days of the Kindle owners, lenders, library. Oh my gosh, let's just say coal. It will go back to the coal days of 2011 to 2014. Which means significant author losses. Now, the people who, like the seven-figure authors, lost an absolute fortune when author bonuses were done away with. Everyone is going to, I mean, everyone will lose if they cut them, the payouts by half, of course. But ask yourself, you don't have to agree with me. I'm only saying this is just a theory of mine, but still ask yourself, why have they allowed them into libraries? And please, please do not think it was to be nice. If they're telling that story, I would not believe it, not at all. No one has lobbied Amazon to be nice and allow books into libraries. That is absolutely a ludicrous joke. Seriously, don't think that. Please don't think something like that. I mean, would you accept a cookie from a stranger? Have some critical thinking, for goodness sake. It's obvious. It must be an antitrust shield. They've got a reason for it. Most obvious answer is an antitrust shield. Why would they need an antitrust shield now more than any other time if they're thinking they're going to fold it into Prime? That will bring up antitrust issues. And then they say, oh, no, look, they're in public libraries. And when authors have an outcry, oh, my gosh, you're slashing our payouts by like 50, 60, probably 60%, then they'll say, oh, you've got the library income. See? Just anyway, you don't have, I'm not trying to talk you into it. You don't have to agree with me, of course. This is not facts, what I'm saying. It's just my theory. That's to me, that is what the evidence suggests. But all that aside, ask yourself, why has Amazon allowed books into libraries? They have a reason for this, a cold, hard business reason. Look at that. Put that together with the fact that they're winding back the book business. Look at the decline of APUB. Look at all the bookstores. They have physical bookstores they have shut. Look at all the layouts in the book department, the abolition of author bonuses, the gradual decline of author payouts per pages read. Put all that evidence together, and where do you think this is going? Tell me in the comments below what you suspect, where you suspect this is going. But please don't say you just think Amazon is being nice. Oh my gosh, I will have to eat more chocolate if you say that, because I'll be so stressed. No, they're not being nice. Got to have some critical thinking. But again, what does this have to do with selling direct? If you don't have an author store yet, get it set up and make it your website, and then you can shift. I always recommend a book, Who Moved My Cheese? You know, you've got to shift when these things happen. Shifts always come. Things always happen in business. You have to be ready to shift. If you have an author store, you will be ready to shift when something happens. And if you look at the history of Kindle Unlimited, you will know it's on a trajectory. Things change. It's not stable, and it's progressively getting worse for authors? Do you think it's going to improve for authors? Ask yourself that. Or do you think it will get worse? So don't live in a fool's paradise. Look where this is actually going and their actual reason for putting things in libraries, which to me is clearly as an antitrust shield. To me, that stands out like the proverbials, that is their reason for doing this. And then the next question to ask is, why would they need an antitrust shield? And then you think if they fold it into Prime as a Prime perk. And there's already the solid prediction that they're going to increase the Prime membership by $20 next July. And July, that should sound warning bells for August. That's when Amazon always does things in July. So just think this through. So start to future-proof your business now, no matter what you do, no matter whether you put your backlist wide. But I would strongly advise you to get all your KU books into libraries ASAP, even though it takes you time, because libraries typically don't pay a fortune, not like, say, what you might get from Barnes & Noble, but they do pay. Like, I do okay with libraries. So I would suggest to put that in. It mightn't be a huge amount, like it might not be 5 figures a month, but you might make 4 figures a month from libraries, and that's nothing to sneeze at, is it? So who knows, you might not. But it's money that you haven't got now, isn't it? For a few hours work if you have lots and lots of books. So I strongly suggest doing that, because that's one way to future-proof your business. But also I strongly suggest you start selling paperbacks from your Shopify store if you have one up and running, and your books are already in Kindle Unlimited. Anyway, I've just rambled on and on about this since I woke up to see that they have finally put it in their terms. I was wondering how long it would take the lawyers to get that up there, since people have known about this for a week or two now, but I'm glad it's there now for everyone to see. So let me know in the comments below what you think the nefarious purpose is for putting books into libraries. Okay, bye for now.